Christina Sands. She's the Regional Director for the Oregon Community Foundation for the Southern region. She covers Josephine, Jackson, Klamath, and Lake County. And the Southern region right now has, I believe, 160-some funds, about $117 million worth, and they give out almost $7 million in grants a year, and 250 volunteers, which Melissa Maxwell and myself are one of those volunteers, and have been for a number of years. So I'd like to introduce Christina.
Thank you very much.
Before you start, I'd like to say also there's binders up there for attorneys and accountants, professionals, if you like material, and annual reports for the Oregon Community Foundation and others. And I'd like to also say too, the years I've worked with Christina, she's a great asset and helped us create the Lake County Community Foundation, and all her expertise in getting that kind of thing done was beyond me, and it was all through her help that stuff gets done. So, thank you, Christina.
Jim is too kind. I know that he's the one doing all the work, and we do our best to assist whenever we can, but thank you, Jim. Jim and I think, I joined OCF about 10 and a half years ago, and it's just been a wonderful journey, learning a new area of foundation work that I had not done before. I used to be an attorney in Jackson County and a little bit in Lane County. So I've sort of grown with the job, or the job's grown with me, either way. It's just been really wonderful. And thank you for coming. I just thought it'd be a nice opportunity to just be accessible to you, answer any questions you have, ideas you have for the foundation, for my office. You know, maybe we should do this annually. It's just, I haven't been out and about for a little while because we had some new staff come in last year. So this year I'm ready to roll. I've been all over the past few weeks, and I'm looking forward to more trips. So thank you, Jim, and Thule also for hosting us. I think she's getting things together. OCF is 42 years old. We have 6 offices statewide, and my office happens to be in Medford, serving Southern Oregon. Jim is on a committee that we call an advisory committee that we call Southern Oregon Leadership Council. They meet twice a year and sometimes as a whole group. And we really like to talk about what's happening in our region. What are the issues OCF should hear about? Our president comes to those meetings, other senior staff come to those meetings, and we spend about an hour just talking about what's happening in the region and how can we respond or just learn. Others on the Leadership Council are Alice Dinsdale from Christmas Valley, and Melissa Maxwell, who joined us recently. Can't make it today, but I'm meeting up with her before the end of the day. Thule, our host, is a volunteer for OCF. We do have about 200 volunteers just for our office. They are scholarship volunteers, so a lot of scholarship funds we handle. You know, you don't want a staff person sitting in Medford reading and deciding students. You want local volunteers who know students, who know the community, giving us that advice. So we have that throughout the state, really, and our office is responsible for about a number of them. We also have volunteers who are our grant evaluators. So when we have folks apply for a grant, we sometimes check in with our Leadership Council members and say, Jim, Alice, Melissa, what do you think? They can give us a little bit of background. That's always helpful. And then we actually have assigned certain grants to a volunteer who will vet them, meet with the executive director. You know, sometimes it's beautifully written, but you're still not sure what's the essence of it, so you have to go and visit. Or it's poorly written, but you know there's something there and you just want to get to the heart of it. We don't want to just decide on everything on paper. We get calls from our other foundations up north who have asked us, have you ever been to Lakeview before? Have you done it? It's like, yes, we have. And, you know, here's a contact you can talk to. You can talk to Jim. You can talk to Melissa. You can talk to Alice. So we serve that purpose in many ways. And we are really eager to make sure that our work is not just the I-5 corridor. So want you to know that. OCF has 3 key responsibilities. Number 1, our donors. Our donors come to OCF to create a fund. Most funds start at $25,000, some are at $50,000. Sometimes when you hear about OCF, you hear about the big $1 million funds. Well, our average fund is about $110,000. So it was created so that philanthropy could happen anywhere in Oregon, and that you did not have to be a millionaire to create a fund at OCF. Each fund has a unique purpose. My job is to meet with a new donor, so every time I sit down with them, they don't have to fit whatever the board or the issue of the time is. They can just tell us what their costs that they feel strongly about, their favorite nonprofit, their favorite area of interest, and we will create that fund for them. So I work with a lot of donors, putting that in paper, making sure it's part of the permanent file. I also ask them to write their story, so that if it's a scholarship fund, we have a history of the individual or the couple. I try to find different articles that I come across as I read the different papers and things and put that in the file, because inevitably these are endowed funds to be here forever, and you're going to have lots of questions down the road. The second most important responsibility is financial stewardship. Once our donors have given us their charitable dollars, they have expectations in how we're going to manage their money. They want it there forever. Not everyone, but for those who do, we have that responsibility. We cannot be too risky with how we manage their dollars in the market, and nor can we be so risk averse that it won't grow. It has to keep up with rate of inflation so that more grants go out over time. And we have a group of stellar volunteers from Oregon who are the best minds who help us manage and think big on how to handle our endowment. And then we have a lot of managers across the country and international who then do the hard work of actually trying to make us money. We have 2 pools. We have a main investment pool. We have a socially responsible pool. We give our donors choices as to which pool they want to have it in. We have about $1.6 billion under management. And again, that's from small gifts and large gifts. They all go follow our donors' intent. And the third most important piece is, where does the money go? Did the right student receive the scholarship? Was it the right pool of students? We need that feedback if we're not doing it right. Did the right grant go to the right organization? Should it be deferred for a little while? And so all of those kinds of conversations. My colleague Amy Cuddy in my office is instrumental in really making sure we're local, and then our grant evaluators and leadership council members help us be more rounded in how we think about our work. We have 5 scholarship funds that we steward and manage in Lake County: the Anna Jones, Gladys and Forrest Cooper, Donald and Noreen Alger, Mary Mahoney Egan, and the Clinton and Marianne Basie scholarship funds. We have 3 nonprofits that have their endowment at OCF, and we're partners. We help manage their funds. And are partners in terms of also working with their donors. If they have any questions or they want a charitable gift annuity or any, we're there to help serve. That's the Lake County Community Foundation, the Lake County Oregon Museum, and the Order of the Antelope. We have all kinds of other funds in other counties. In this county, scholarship is a popular fund. But in Josephine County, there's 1 scholarship fund and 6 advice funds. Advice funds are where the donors create a mini foundation instead of, and we're their staff. Instead of deciding very specifically who they want to give to, they create a fund, there are grants to go out, but the donor helps us decide where the money goes. So they participate in which grants are to go. We have field of interest funds, or the donor will say, I want this grant to be for arts and music in schools, but only in Lake and Klamath County. And so we need to make sure those organizations apply for these grants, and we make those grants out. And then, of course, we have designated funds where a donor will create a fund especially for an organization, for the library, or various organizations, for Plymouth Community College Foundation, for LCRI. And so all of those different types of funds we handle, and every community is unique. I have packets, lots of things. I have grocery bags. Should you want a souvenir, help yourself, get a variety of them. We do a report every year on giving in Oregon. We review all the nonprofit tax returns in 2014 and report it out in 2015. And now we're getting our work together for our next report coming out in the fall. So if you want to know how are Oregonians doing, I think there was a report today that there was a banner year statewide in charitable giving. Well, this is, we're doing okay. I'd say at OCF, last year was a good year. We had about, we equaled what we did the year before. I'm going to say about 80 million came in terms of gifts, cash, and gifts coming to the foundation. But we had the highest number of funds created. So and those are a combination of donors bringing in their gifts during their lifetime or through a bequest, and working with a lot of donors who have a gift to OCF in their will, whether that's a scholarship fund. So lately, that has been a majority of my work, sitting down with a lot of folks who are thinking about their legacy, thinking about how they want to give back to the community. And like I said, it could be a very modest gift, it can be a very large gift. Sometimes I don't know. And I don't always ask because I think they will tell me if they want me to know. But we do that kind of work, it's part of our mission and part of what we do. So anyways, if you are a professional advisor, an attorney, CPA, financial planner, and you were ever curious about how we go about doing some of our work, you're welcome to have one of these if you don't have one already. If you're just really curious, let me know and I can make some arrangements to get you one too. In this packet, I have this handout, and I think this one might be the key piece of all. It is our, it's like our local brochure. It lists all the funds that OCF in our Southern Oregon region have. These are donors who have created funds and who are either alive and working with us or have left us a gift and the grants are going out. So they're active funds. And you'll notice there's advice funds, we have designated funds. I mean, it's just all kinds of varieties. And these are the folks, and including the nonprofits who have funds. So you could always look at that in our annual report, but if you want a condensed version. And then we have other things in our packets. Can I answer any questions? Curious about anything? I have more to say, but I think I should pause.
I do, actually,
yes.
About advice funds.
Yes.
Lake County does not have an advice fund other than the
Community Foundation.
Community
yes.
Foundation. So, is there information here about advice funds?
Sure.
There's been a couple of people that have said something to me about it, that have heard about it, or know a little bit about it, and I'd like to, I've encouraged them to contact you guys, but you know how that goes.
Right. It's like me and my will in my briefcase that was with me for 3 years before I finally went to my attorney and said, I need to change my will.
So
Yes.
if I can tease them with a little more information, I might be able to
Absolutely.
do something like that. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I
advice
would
funds
love
and
to.
let them know?
So-
Because I think it's something that's really, I have some experience with them when Meredith Howell and I were doing the Learn by Doing grant writing workshops in Lapine and I think in Roseburg, both. They were supported by advice funds in those communities.
Yes.
And it was very helpful to us to be able to bring that grant
Right.
writing class into those communities. And they were very generous with us when we ask, and I think it was in Lapine, the woman who had the advice fund actually came and sat in on the class, which really was, I thought that was pretty special, you know.
Some of our donors want to be anonymous, some want to be really
Yeah,
engaged. So
yeah.
we coordinate
Right.
however they want it. They take the lead. So an advice fund is created with a gift of $25,000. You can actually start it at $5,000, and I can send you more information. You start at $5,000, you build it up till it reaches 25. And every year, once you reach 25, you have a certain amount to make grants from. Like any foundation, you have 4.5% at OCF. So let's say you have $1,200 to make in grants for the coming year. We write our donors and say, your fund has X amount of dollars in grants. Who would you like to grant it to? So it's wide open. It's very flexible. They'll say, yes, I've been asked to get grant to this and I would like these organizations. Or they will say, I'm not sure. Who do you think is doing the best work in mentoring right now? So staff will do some research, give some examples, put a packet together. If a donor is very interested in just one area of interest, their packet will always come with a lot of examples of who's asking for money. Because we get requests twice a year from all kinds of organizations statewide asking us for grants. We share that list. Some folks will just say, always send me the list for Southern Oregon. I'm never going to grant to them, but I want to know who they are and who's active. We share that information. It's great information because every once in a while, a donor will say, I like that idea, I never heard about that, I think I'll give them a grant of $500 or something like that. They can do that any time of the year. That information, grant making is available. We have a secure portal. They can see, sometimes families do this, one family member lives in Portland, another family member lives in Lakeview, and they can look at the history of their fund any time of the day. Or we could do all paper, however they prefer. So if they want to make a grant to the library, and OCF has made a grant to the library in the past 3 years, and an email comes to us or a form comes to us from the donor that says, please give them a grant. In 10 days, a check will go out from that fund. It will say, a grant has been made from XYZ fund in the amount of this amount. Now, sometimes the donor wants to be anonymous, and we take care of that however the donor wants to do that. They'll say anonymous, or this time not anonymous for that one, because I'm on their board, and give them my address. Or give them my name, but don't give them my address. I mean, we really concierge whatever they want us to do. They're our most important client, so to speak, or constituents that we do that. So it's, if they gave us an organization that we've never heard of before, we've never made a grant, then we contact the organization. They just have to be a nonprofit. That's the only criteria. And we ask them, can you please give us your 501c3 determination letter and answer this short form. They send that back to us. We review it, and then we get the process to get the grant out. And really, we're not trying to micromanage what the donor wants. The only time we took a pause was when we had an organization that was out of state, and they were hitting the headlines, national headlines, that there was an investigation on where the money went. We contacted our donors and said, there's this, controversy. Do you still want us to send out your grant, or do you want us to hold it back? And a lot of them said, hold it back, let's see what happens. And then when the reports came in and it was okay, and they needed to improve their management, called the donor again and said, okay, now can we send out the grant? Yes or no? And then they told us. If a donor has passed away, and we're supposed to be sending out grants on behalf of them, usually the donor gives us instructions, even from an advice fund. They start out as an advice fund where they're giving us advice. They can give us instructions, and when I pass away, I want this fund to support XYZ, and then we will make sure that happens. You can have 2 generations of a fund. You can have a parent and children, or a donor and a friend. I mean, whatever combination you have, we'll talk about that. And it's a great tool to sort of either memorialize someone that's important in your life or teach children. I'm working with a donor now where I don't think she's too happy with her children, but she loves her grandchildren, so she's naming the fund in honor of her grandchildren. And because I think there's that element of pride that maybe your children may wonder, I could have used that money. But the grandchildren growing up will know that a fund supported the theater, or that, and we always give credit to the fund. It's not, just doesn't say this grant was made possible by OCF. Every grant has a fund name behind it, or in front of it, I should say.
Just so you know, you can also do the advice fund under the Lake County Community Foundation, because we're tied as an endowment
Right.
directly, not only because we get to
Right.
invest our $100,000+ with their
Right.
dollars, but also for that expertise of having that, the advice funds and being able to help a donor with that. So if somebody's comfortable with that, I mean, we
Yeah,
don't care either way,
absolutely.
whether it's under Lake County Community Foundation or under Oregon Community Foundation.
What's neat about advice funds is you can see how a grant of $500 or $1,000 is so meaningful to a nonprofit, right? And you can do that anytime.
Oh, there's a lot of flexibility.
A lot of
I mean,
flexibility.
in our situation, we tried, when we were doing this, we're actually still doing it, but knowing, at least trying to be a year in advance, but our timing didn't always match up with another community foundation or someone in the community that we could go to money for, where the advice funds, all we had to do was write a letter, explain what we were doing, provide our nonprofit information, and then it was
You can
timely. It was more
Right.
timely for us.
Once in a while, we ask, nonprofits ask if they can insert like a 3-sentence description of their project that we can pass on to our advice fund donors. And so we'll put that in their packet. Last year we made $100 million in grants for OCF. That's one of our highest grant-making years. But think of it this way. It's a huge number. About 15 million of that is discretionary. The rest has some ties to how our donors wanted it done. They're either advice fund donors, designated scholarships, so we are really serving a large constituent of folks who want it local or statewide. Or you can also make grants outside of Oregon. Like if your alma mater is elsewhere and you want to make a grant for that 1 year from an advice fund, we just ask that majority of the gifts during the long time your fund is in existence end up in Oregon. But, 3 years in a row, you can have grants going out of state, and we're fine with that. We just need to double check 501c3s and all of that pieces. And that's the same even with designated funds, if your favorite nonprofit. So sometimes I write up a fund agreement and it's a combination. Oregon nonprofits and out-of-state nonprofits. A lot of metropolitan Portland donors give to rural Oregon.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, please help yourself to lunch. Most important.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Bill?
Hi, Jen, how are you?
Any other questions?
See, the fees that you guys charge, are they per fund, or is it just an overall, or a standard,
It's per fund.
it's negotiable per fund, or?
No, it is 0.95, so it's just shy of 1% for under 2 million. So it depends on the balance of the fund and times 0.95 for the year. We've had enough growth because our funds, a majority of are endowed, 80% of our funds are endowed. There's enough of growth in our fund that, we're able to keep having the fund grow despite the fact that we do have some OCF fees. We are a nonprofit, and so we're very cognizant of what we spend on. But at the same time, want to make sure we serve all of Oregon and not be foolish about how we spend either, because we've got to do some things. So it's 0.95 times the balance of the fund.
Does that include financial advisory fees?
On the financial advisor fees, OCF does not charge, we don't have any tack-ons. Everything the OCF earns income from is from that administrative fee. Now, the financial advisors do have a fee, and they pull it out of their earnings from the fund itself, from the investments. And we've done a recent survey to check, so we don't add on to it, what is the actual cost? And some charge gross, some charge net, and it's about 0.8%. So again, just under. And most financial advisors charge 1 to 2%. So we were feeling that we've gotten large enough that we were able to negotiate our financial fees lower to 0.8. That was a surprise to us because I used to say 9%, 0.9, but it's gone lower, so that's
I was
good.
just gonna say another reason, the Lake County Community Foundation there, is you look at the track record of investments and the return on those investments and the cost. Wow, you can't beat it. That's what I came to, but you can't beat it.
And what I'm passing around is a quick snapshot. It's one of the items in our packet. But this is an example of real fun. And so, not making up any numbers here. This fund started, I'm sorry, I have to cheat a little bit, 24 years ago in 1991. And it started at 100,000, and they never added anything more. So $100,000 came to OCF. Over time, so you can see that fees were charged against this fund, and grants went out every year. They never missed a year when a grant went out for the particular purpose. So if you look sort of in the column, 170,000 worth of grants went out over that 24-year period. But the fund still grew. The purple line is the actual balance of the fund, and obviously it does go up and down with the market. We didn't go, we have to manage that risk still. But we have to still keep up with the rate of inflation. We have to be able to make grants larger over time because those nonprofits are relying, or that scholarship fund is relying on additional monies with the cost of expenses going up. So I think this is it just sort of gives you the vision of what our work comes down to in the end. A fund, again, that did not add to it, kept pace with the rate of inflation, always made grants every year, and the payout was always between 4 to 5%. So I've been at OCF for, like I mentioned, 10 years. It's been at 4.5% all the years I've been there, but we always have a robust conversation, our board does, on whether they should go down to 4% because we think the market is unpredictable. and we're worried. We are worried, but we also have this responsibility to make sure that our nonprofits are going to be healthy and surviving. And that extra 0.5% that goes out in grants is very meaningful. So we've managed to keep going, I think, only because we've had some good growth from our donors. Other questions?
I'll just add, the Lake County Community Foundation, similar to this one, started in 2013 with an endowment of $100,000. We've given out $14,000 now, and our endowments today is a little almost $106,000. And we had one donor that wanted to anonymous, not run it through the OCF, so we gave it out directly out of the checking account. That's why the difference. But that growth was there. That 4.5%'s been there every year. Now we've made some decisions, put 1 year aside since we've given 14 out to build the principal. So we keep building. That's the purpose, long-term purpose. But it works just like that. It's been working that way.
I can tell you what donors ask me, I'll just make it short. Why do they even come to me? Because they can go directly to the nonprofit and make a gift there. So it's unique sometimes when they come to OCF. First off, I'll say that the largest my referrals come from attorneys and from other donors. Those are the folks who are asking me to come in and talk to their clients. And I'm really just brainstorming. I'm never into sales or pushing anybody. It's their timetable. One particular fund I created, I think on and off, we chatted for 8 years. And it was that donor's timing. When she was ready, she will let me know, but she wanted me to keep in touch a little bit. Not a lot, because it wouldn't do any good. So that is how we work. So why do they come? One, because they want a legacy. They want something to remember the name of the fund, their family, their mother, whatever it is. They want to make sure that they want to be, they're really very proud when they come in and feel this joy of wanting to give back, and how they choose the name of the fund is important to them. It could be anonymous, or they name it after their family. They worry about sometimes, if I give it to a small organization, what if it goes away in 5-10 years after I pass away? That's always a concern. And that's why we step in their shoes, and we have language written in the document that says when this organization is no longer in existence, this is what we need to do. The donors want to make sure that when they left it for a particular purpose, it's going to be for that particular purpose. So again, it's trust in us to make sure that we don't, that they're not fast and loose in how we look at that language. And we have always room to improve, but a lot of different eyes look at a document and a grant. And it's just not one person sitting in an office making a decision. There's volunteers from the community, there's staff people in Medford, there's staff people in Portland, and then it gets pushed out. We have donors who don't want to name an organization, but they have an area of interest, and they want it to go with the times. They don't want to name an organization because they're worried that cancer might be cured, for example, and so they don't want to name a particular organization. They want us to be able to step in their shoes and name the right organization when the time comes. They want to make sure there's a local feel to it. Maybe they'll want an advisory committee to help choose the scholarship recipients, rather than have other folks do it. So we might have a local committee, and we love that because we know the right student gets chosen that way. And they also want to know, do we have the expertise on how to make that grant and how to deal with nonprofits? And can we be kind and forgiving at times, but strict when we need to be strict? And so they're sort of checking how do we deal with those kinds of things. So we have a lot of volunteers who work with us to kind of see what we do and then go forward. So those are the kinds of different things. I also get asked, who should I talk to as an advisor? I had a gentleman who come in and see me about every 3 months, had a vision for what he wanted to give to his community, but would not see an attorney. And I just thought, this community is going to not be able to be served by the gifts he wants to make. So sometimes I connect a potential donor with a potential CPA or a financial planner, just to kind of get them their professional advice so we know the gift will come in the end, however they draft it, however information that they give their attorney to make it happen. And in that particular case, this gentleman just couldn't make appointments, he just wanted to walk in whenever he wanted to walk in. And I found an attorney who would take care of him. And he was just a very friendly, modest person, and he left his community a gift of $1 million. I didn't know that. He never told me. I didn't ask. I left that for the conversation with his attorney, and it worked out really nicely.
He felt like that's good.
My first donor that I assisted was a woman who is anonymous, who was a house cleaner. That was what she did for a living. And she left us her house because she gave gifts to her, she helped her children, but she wanted something for domestic violence, for those who were gonna have hardship. And her house was her only valuable possession, so I'm gonna think her house was maybe $100,000. That is a wonderful gift for that local organization, so. Anyways, I get to meet really interesting, thoughtful people. I would really say thoughtful people who want to give back. Anything else? Cookies.
I think it was to add that the one that amazes me, this was for the whole state, was Fred Field's fund. Oregon Community Foundation had no clue that fund was coming, and it was $250 million. It was just out of the blue. By the way, a local person who owns a building here, that was his uncle. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a large gift that just, you know, and even he says, I didn't know he had that kind of money. You know, but when he passed
He
away.
flew coach.
Yeah, yep. But anyway, I always think that's a neat story, that just to give it away for education in the arts, culture. Yeah.
Like the one in Medford.
Right, the walk.
The Elwood Foundation, who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with the children in this old CETA program way back in the day.
Yes.
And the dad ended up having millions of dollars. It was amazing. Good idea.
Well, please have more helpings, and if you have ideas or just are a little bit more curious, I just love to connect and meet, or connect you with my colleagues who also specialize in different areas of our work at the foundation. And anyways,
I'd like to find out about volunteering for your scholarship grants. Yeah,
we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll exchange information.
okay.
Tuli, you're and Anna Jones, I think, is this your second year or your
It is.
first? Yeah.
Second year.
Tuli stepped in. We had a committee member who had a conflict of interest, and so we just need to make sure all of those bits and pieces are. We rely on you for all of that to make sure the right
It's a
student
confidence,
moves
it's an
forward.
honor. It's an
Yeah,
honor to
oh,
be
it's
part of
neat,
it.
it's neat. I meet with Clinton Dacey every now and again. He's at he's Silver Lake, a little further, and you know, just quiet gentleman who really thinks at the high school and how he wants to do it. So,
And I'm sure all of you are familiar that anytime I ask people about coming to Lake County or Lakeview, they always go, that's a long ways away, you know. Christina's not one of those. She comes anytime she's been asked, and so anytime you need her services or have questions, she's readily available. She does a great job.
And
Lake County and Lakeview is not that far away from us.
we enjoy it. So give us reasons to come. This is just thinking of ideas. It might be a small lunch, it might be a breakfast, coffees for 3 people. I mean, it just, you know, we really are committed to making sure we can get you information. And it may not be OCF, you know, maybe we're not the right fit. That's okay too. We become a resource to a couple other foundations, and we partner with some other folks too, so we can share information when that comes.
We even had our first grants that we gave away, which was $5,000, I think it was, if I remember right, to the Lake County Community Foundation. Max Williams, the president of the Oregon Community Foundation, came down and gave those grants away. And guess what? He happened to be the head of corrections when the Warner Correction Facility was built. So he had a tie to Lakeview. He really wanted to come and do that. He really wanted to come back and visit the facility and give us some grants away, so he did that for us.
And, you know, you walk into a room and more people know Max than I don't. So now we're like, hey, something's wrong here. How come everybody knows Max? I thought I was showing him around, or Jim was showing him around. It didn't work out that way. And, you know, he just traveled all over Oregon, and rural Oregon, really, in his work. And he feels that when he was doing the corrections work, it was the sort of the last resort, right? It was things did not work out for those folks. The system may have failed them. And now he's in a position at the foundation where we're trying to do a lot of preventative work. we're trying to do a lot of early childhood, that's number one in our initiatives. Dental health, prevention, all of those kinds of things. We're trying to be at the forefront in some of the discretionary dollars that go out. Education is really, education, early childhood education is particularly important. This past year, we put a spotlight on that to make sure that information went out statewide. So, I think I've talked quite a bit. Any other questions? I'll be hanging around for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
You look like you got a question.